We're live. Yay. Okay. Let me get this stuff to share. Oh, what did I push? Wrong buttons. Share. Here we go. Aha. Alright. Get this popped out. Oop. Do-do-do. And linky link there. And up, I need to start my Discord. Start my Discord. Don't need to look at that. Okay. And yeah, guys, we hit 1,100 followers over the weekend. And our perfect. Got that there, got that there. Alright. There's no cool thing. Nope. Okay. Watch the Discord. Stuff posted on the thing. Alright, it's like, oh, this is so boring, Karnak. What are you even doing? Can't stay. Peter Rankin. No worries. Just come by to say hi. Appreciate it. Alright, let me pop this out. Pop out chat. That way I can minimize that. Perfect. Don't want top chat. I want all of my chat visible. Timestamp. Oh, they already were toggled. Alright. Well then. Let's start this thing off. Keep this window open. We recommend that you stream bitrate of 45K. Okay, I don't know. How do I fix it? Do I change it in which settings? Is it in my streaming settings? No. I don't know. Oh, here we go. Output control rate. And it's recommending 4.5. Okay. My computer should be able to handle it, right? And then suddenly my computer dies. Oh, we'll try that. Still angry? Probably. Well, it can deal with it. It says my connection's fine. Alright. Let's talk about Star Wars Armada. I know I did that a week ago, but I talked for 2 hours and it hardly seemed like I scratched the surface of everything. So, let's get into some objective talk. Just to get things started. So I do want to talk about list building. And I want to talk about list building with the new objectives in mind. Because the new objectives, if you're looking to go squadronless, man, the new objectives, I've been just looking at them more. And not everything. I mean, I've looked at a lot of them. There's still a few that I haven't looked at extensively. But let's kind of review some of the new objectives that I have gone over in my videos and stuff. Let me pull these back out. Because I've done 2 of the yellows, and 2 of the reds, 2 of the blues. Is that half? Yeah, that's half the objectives so far. I've covered half of them. I think that between knowing half of them and the other half, I've kind of looked at some of the other ones, and I don't know, the other ones just still kind of don't seem all that great to me. Perfect, Paul. Thanks for letting me know. It all seems fine here. So let me bring up. I know I'm talking about it. I'm like, let me look at the objectives, and you're like, but Karnak, we can't see anything. Good thing I got the screen here. Let me pull it up on the screen. Maybe that would be helpful. So let's talk about some of these new objectives. So I know I've covered Mark for Destruction, and I've covered Surprise Attack. So let's just kind of briefly go over Rift Assault and Ion Storm after I kind of touch on what the other two are. So Mark for Destruction is the video I just released this morning. Not really impressed with that objective. Not impressed at all. Part of why you want good objectives is you want the ability to either score to increase your MOV, or because again you're second player, you want to increase your advantage. Mark for Destruction doesn't really accomplish that. You have to toss out half the obstacles. Sure, you get the Purgles, and yeah, you get to place them. But you can only move one of them, and your opponent then moves the other one. So sure, you could put them both closer towards the enemy fleet, but you're still only choosing to move one of them, and then he moves the other one in like. I mean, with being able to place them in the obstacle phase before deployment, I mean, you definitely want to put them in a place. If I bring up Vassal here, like, because you toss out the station and all of the rocks, those don't get used. All you have is the 2 debris field and the 2 dust fields, and then I'm going to make a clone here of this guy. Put an objective token on it so I know that that's what I'm trying to refer to as a Purgle, because they're not on Vassal yet. So pretty much each player places 2 obstacles. Again, 2 of them are dust fields, so, you know, that can backfire on you as second player. It can be helpful to you as second player. You just gotta be careful. And the Purgles can only be placed beyond distance 5, and they have to still be beyond distance 1 of other obstacles. So, like, as first player, if you're wanting to corner deploy, all you gotta do is put an obstacle right there. Like, put obstacle, like the debris fields, like right here. And guess what? Purgles can't go here. So you can still, as first player, kind of set up to where you can go through the avenues, you know? I mean, one of them is probably going to be a dust cloud, or rather, you should be placing the dust clouds to try to limit that. But I mean, because the other player, if you allow him to just use both dust clouds, he's just going to deploy them to where it's going to cover his own butt and make it harder for you to approach. But again, there's pros and cons to that too. He might feel too safe in there. But anyway, the Purgles, the Purburglers, so they can only be deployed beyond distance 5. So sure, I mean, the second player can put them like something like that. Sure, they're still covering most of the board. Yeah, they're moving distance 1 to 2. And you can try to throw them in the way of a ship, but if it's MSU, they're not going to block MSU. They're really only going to block. They really can't even block medium ships unless it's a interdictor or a victory class. Because Assault Potato can go speed 3. Quasar can go speed 3. Most of the large ships can go speed 3. So what's it going to block? Because the only time that they'll take damage is if they're moving at the, you know, if you're moving speed 2, you take 2 damage, etc. So cool, that really annoys some Star Destroyers, I guess. And MC-80 won't care. Because it's an MC-80, the Home 1 variant. Liberty probably would care a little bit. MC-80 won't care. MC-75 won't care. Star Destroyer won't care. And it's only going to get 1 block on something like those because they're just going to speed right over it. And it can't move the chase after them because it can't overlap anything. So, marked for destruction makes no sense. And you can only target 1 ship at a time with the special effect for marked for destruction because you have to shoot at a target at close to medium range to then put the crit on it to mark it so that you can then move a Purgle towards it to then farm 15 points off of it. So it's too much to make this objective work. Now, granted, there are some fun things you can do with this objective. I mean, Interdictor with Graph Shift Reroute is probably still going to have fun with this objective. It's not, I would say it's not a good objective. for interdictor still, but it's fun because a lot of people don't know this, and this is something that I did post in the Discord for the Armada thing, and some of the playtesters have seen it and they kind of laughed, but I don't know. So I don't know if they knew about this before or not, but it seemed like that maybe it wasn't really thought about. So in the Rebellion of the Rim booklet, it says when obstacles move, any tokens on them move with them. So I had made the laughing comment about, hey guys, don't call Greenpeace on me. But what happens if you put mines on the space whales and then you're moving the space whales towards enemy ships and they have to not only run over the space whale and take damage, but then the mine explodes that's on the space whale. Then they take more damage. And you can combo that with, yeah, again, with graph shift reroute, because you place the proximity mines before ships are deployed, and the graph shift reroute doesn't trigger until after deployment. So you could put mines on all these obstacles, see where the ships go for deployment, push the obstacles in front of ships and watch them run over them and explode with mines and everything else. Or Ezra Bridger, who can, for one time, discard, he can push, maybe you've got like a contested outpost station or something like that. It's like, oh, you want the station? Well, here you go. Here, have this mine that's on it. Because the Rebels, too, they get that Mart squadron. He's the YT-2400, and at the start of the squadron phase, instead of activating, he toggles his activation slider, and he can drop a mine down. And again, he can drop those mines on Purgles that are moving around and doing stuff. It's just kind of hilarious. It's just things to think about. And again, I don't think a lot of people... Will you ever see that as like a meta play? No. Will you see that as kind of like a funny thing that will happen? Probably. I mean, I want to do it because it's just hilarious. But yeah, marked for destruction, not impressed. More like Snapafist made the comment of more like marked for your binder. I laughed pretty hard at that comment. So yeah, don't expect to see a lot of use with that one. Troy says, loving the content diversity. Oh, thank you. I'm trying to do more now that there's actually like more content to talk about, because with the previous wave, it had been out for like 2 years. There's just, I mean, with the way that we kept reinventing the meta, there was stuff to always talk about, but it was just getting harder and harder to find that diversity. Paul says, I consider 3 tiers of fun, competitive, and meh. Yeah, I definitely would put marked for destruction in meh, but you can have fun with it. But it's definitely not competitive. I would not put this in a competitive category. Previously, we had more funs than competitives. These days, not so much. So things are improving. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. I'd rather have 12 new objectives to have more variety in the game than, because now we have 24 objectives, and that's what our game needed. I mean, it's going to get to the point where it is going to be the same objectives that are being chosen over and over and over again. But at least for me, it's just more variety. And yes, it does make it harder for new players to just jump in and understand the competitive nature of the game with so many objectives. But I mean, you need this variety to keep your meta alive. You really do. Come on, Explodo Whales. Completely and utterly legitimate. Yeah. Who's going to tech build for it? Beyond me. Yeah, it's just one of the things that, I mean, if you really want to make it work, you can make it work. And it's still hilarious. And yeah, it's just funny. Let's talk about the other objective. The other red objective I covered, surprise attack. So surprise attack, man, I mean, it's gonna give Most Wanted and Advanced Gunnery a run for their money. There definitely can be arguments made for choosing other red objectives still, but I mean, Most Wanted, Advanced Gunnery are still going to be the 2 big ones. But now competing for that is surprise attack. Because surprise attack, man, it's just so good. It's like, oh, I automatically know where my opponent's flagship is going. Oh, I can raid all of his ships for 3 turns in a row. I mean, that totally makes up for the fact that you can't get points off this objective, because what sucks about second player is that, typically the first player always saves their flagship last, and they're putting down, some rink-a-dink thing with a crap ton of squadrons, and it makes it, if you're a second player who also has a crap ton of squadrons in multiple deployments, it's just kind of a who can out deploy who. But surprise attack gives squadronless players a fucking chance now, guys. Squadronless players have a chance now with red objectives. Because what did we have to take before? Most wanted. Okay, that's not really. That wasn't helping second players be able to beat heavy squads. Not saying that this is like making it easier, but it gives squadronless a chance because you're gonna know where that rebel flagship is gonna be. It still could be something like Radis who's there, and he can just Radis something in front of him. But then you know where that Radis is gonna be, that drop, because if he doesn't drop on turn one, you're gonna blow him up, unless it's an MC30 Abnomition or an MC80. But even then, like knowing where that flagship is going is crucial foreknowledge for your fleet. Like because the station as second player, you get. Let me delete these. We don't need these Purgle things anymore. So when you deploy the station, you choose as second player where it goes. Do you want it in the corner? Cool, put it in the corner. Do you want it out in the middle of the thing? Put it out in the middle of the thing. You're gonna see surprise attack taken with the SSD like nonstop because where is that first player flagship gonna go when where's the SSD on here? Let me pop that out. That's why I can't wait for the new objectives. Like I wish Rebellion in the Room was legal for a tournament I'm going to this weekend. So it's like, cool, you deployed your flagship. Okay, here's my SSD. Where are you gonna go? Now, it's not that you can't counterplay that because any Imperial or Rebel player can just do something like this. They can, if they've got like a flagship Raider or a flagship Corvette, you could still place your flagship running away from the bad guy, something like that, and then he can get out of attack range. Very easy to get out of attack range from there. Or he could deploy because it's small base. It doesn't matter if it's a Raider or a Corvette. Or he could deploy a Corvette, something like that. So when he goes to do his movement 4, let me put this on the left right hand side. So you can see there, at movement 4, he can still pop right out of red range. Whoop. That's out of red range if he moves to there. So there still is counterplay to surprise attack. But it's hard because again, unless you're starting at speed 4, you're gonna get rated. You won't have navigation tokens. If you try to delay and throw a comms net on that raider so you can break the navigation raid, so you can then navigate, then you're gonna get blasted. So it's like it's just good. It's just good. Surprise attack is just so. It's great. You're gonna see that and most wanted being the two most highly competitive things now instead of just most wanted and advanced gunnery. I still think it's kind of cute that all three of them were on the left hand side because those still are the most 3 important red objectives you can choose. There still can be an argument for precision strike. I still think that is a viable option if you've got heavy bombers. But man, some of these are opening. Yeah, some of these other ones are just all too niche. Oh, rate is worthless. Where are you gonna go? Nowhere at half speed, no nav. Yeah, especially if you bring someone like Titus, Admiral Titus with surprise attack, because in SSD you're gonna have a free officer slot usually, depending on your build on a flotilla. Put Titus on them if you're Empire. Slow their speed down, raid their nav. Again, where are they gonna go? Yeah, I think Radis is still gonna be good for surprise attack. It's just he's got to be a lot more careful about it. Oh, right, yeah. You're totally right. With surprise attack, they can only deploy at half speed. So yeah, you raid them, and then you can Titus them. Yeah, you're right. I totally missed that one part, but yeah, you're correct. So yeah, you can Titus them. Or if you have something like you Titus them and then you have Ozzel on your SSD and you it's just crazy. I think Radis will still be good. I mean Radis is still just good in general because you can out deploy the deploy, but his flagship is obviously in a much greater danger. And I wouldn't say that I mean surprise attack is good for SSD, but it's much more dangerous with large ships, specifically, you know, hunter killer liberties and especially Vader Simons. Guys, if you I'm going to real talk. Real talk. So I swore up and down that I would never run double Vader Simoons because I was just like, oh, it's bad for the meta, it's garbage. Also, it gets countered by so many things. But man, with these new objectives, I know I wanted to go over the other reds, but just real talk about competitive list building. So the biggest reason why double Simoons didn't do very well is because they sucked against squadronless and they're no good against, or they are squadronless and they suck against heavy squads. It's super hard for them to chase down and kill carriers. So here's my double Simoon list now with Darth Vader. I've got Emperor Palpatine riding on Avenger. So okay, bring your A squadrons to my double black flak, you know, Simoon. If you want to shoot me, you're gonna have to spend tokens for it. And your most important guy, if I need to flak back, if there's no target for me to shoot at, I'm gonna Avenger that guy and I'm gonna blast him with double black. I mean, it's double brace token, and if they got scatter, that will still suck. Because I don't have Callus, I've got Palpatine. Because I think Palpatine is the right call for here. But again, let me get into why I think you're going to see a lot more double Vader Simoons in Gazantes. And the three objectives that I've looked at and like, man, this makes second player so good is surprise attack. Because again, what do double Vader Simoons excel at? Is that long range throw firepower H9 quad turbo laser cannons. You lock all the defense tokens. If they got ECM, then you just you H9 to get the extra die to then Vader reroll it, throw more damage out, and you don't even care. So surprise attack, again, you know where that flagship is going. It forces the second player to slightly deploy around in supporting their flagship. And again, with the raid tokens, if they got squads, you shut down their squads for 3 rounds in a row. I mean, they could definitely, I mean, any heavy squad is going to have a flotilla sending a squad token over to the carrier so they can spend that to clear the raid and then do the reveal. The only thing that surprise attack doesn't work as well against is Thrawn, but it limits Thrawn. Because now Thrawn has to work around surprise attack raid. Because what does that mean? It means that he has to do double squadron dials to get the squadron command and the squadron token so he can clear the raid, which means he's not navigating. Any carrier that's not navigating, Simoons are going to catch and they're going to destroy. They're just going to eat them up. And that's what Simoons want. They don't want those carriers navigating. And if they're spending time navigating, they're not squadron commanding. And if they're squadron commanding, they're not navigating. You know, so on, etc., so forth. So that's why surprise attack works really well. Hyperspace migration, I've already covered too, so it's the space whale. So, I mean, I already have it. Let me read the comments here real quick. Yeah, I know Nathan's there got Asteroid Tactics with a question mark. I'm going to get the Asteroid Tactics. I'll get to that in one moment. It's the space whale migration. So space whale migration is you set up. Oop, I accidentally removed the objective token. Tokens. Here we go. So the space whales, in a nutshell, is that the second player places down 2 objective tokens at distance 1 from each edge. So you can deploy something like this on one side, close enough. Something like this on the other side, because this does have the toward keyword, meaning that the whales have to move from one obstacle token to the other toward on the shortest course. Now, obstacle tokens and objective tokens cannot move off of the play area, at least according to conversation that was had with the developer. He quote unquote said it's absurd to think that you can move things off the table. Now, have they officially said that in any FAQ or anywhere else? No, it's not officially supported. But that is all we have to go on right now. Plus, it just doesn't make any sense that you can throw stuff off the table to begin with. It just for gameplay reasons why it just seems it kind of breaks the game a bit if stuff could get forcibly moved off a table. Should it be allowed to happen? Should it not be allowed to happen? I'm not a developer. I can't make that decision. My personal opinion is no, you can't chuck that stuff off a table. All right. So let's get into the Purgles. So the Purgles deploy at distance 1. So this is slightly bigger than the Purgle, but if you take off like a chunk of its tail, it's something like that. So you can put a Purgle here at the start of the ship phase of the first round, and you can put the double. I've got it planned out. So you can point Fortress with this list, and it's ridiculous. Now, not only just Imperials, but Rebels especially, it's a lot stronger with. But watch this. If you put one ISD right there and one ISD right there, there's enough room down here for this Purgle. When it needs to move, it can move, stay on the table, and it's at distance 1 of both those ISDs. Now, you can't score on the first round, but you can score from round 2 onwards. And it's 20 freaking points per ship that is at distance 1 of this thing. So you could also, look, if you really, really wanted to have this be dumb, you could even fit a Gazanti in there. So you can farm 60 points. Round 2, you just deploy at speed 1. You nav, you go speed 0. See there? At the end of round 2, 60 points. 60 points from that. Now, is it optimal? Is that the best strategy to go with? No. I mean, obviously, you don't want to just sit there at speed 0 the whole game, especially not against something like a Super Star Destroyer that can still come down and smack you. Still have to play smart. But if it's a heavy squadron list where it's like B-wings or stuff that can only move at speed 3, and even with Imperials too, I mean, let's spawn. So if a squadron can start there, it's a rebel that can go speed 3. We'll say, okay, so there's one movement, and then so that's end of round 1, going into round 2. Round 2, it still can't reach the Star Destroyers unless it has fire coordination teams. So, and even then, it can't shoot the Star Destroyers, but the Star Destroyers can still double flak, can flak back. And all they have to do is just sit there and they can farm points. So it's just, it's a ridiculous objective. Hyperspace migration, if you thought SensorNet was bad, you were going to see this objective all the time. There's never not going to be a time where you don't see this blue on everything. Because you can farm so many points from it. I mean, like I said, 60 points per round. I can't think of any other objective that allows you to do that. The most you can get is like fire lanes, 45. SensorNet you can get quite a bit if you really got it finagled right. You can claim like 3 to 4 tokens. But even then, like, you're doing a lot of work for that. And so something like this is like, okay, I'm squadronless. I'm going to sit here and farm points. You need to come to me. And you're forcing that first player with those heavy squads to then have to rush at you. They have to speed at you as fast as they can, because if they are slow ships or they go slow, or they take the time and they try to do it just right, it doesn't matter. The longer they delay, 60 points, 60 points, 60 points, 60 points. And even if they kill a Star Destroyer, you still farmed more than enough points to make it. So let's see how much. If they killed my Vader, how much points is that? So he's 192. Okay, so 192. So how many rounds would I need to farm? So 60 times 3 is 180. So by the end of round 4, I'll have 180 victory points. Okay, so you kill that Star Destroyer, and now you're still only winning 6-5. If even that, because obviously the Star Destroyers aren't going to stand there and take it. They're going to shoot back. They're going to clap back. It's a ridiculous objective, and I think that it's insanely too strong of an objective. Like, to the point of how did this make it through playtesting? I'm not saying the playtesters didn't playtest it. I'm just saying there needed to be a cap on how many ships could farm this. Because, guys, all I see is a bunch of... I haven't even gotten to the funniest part, is if I wanted to redo this list, I could put proximity mines on all of these ships. Proximity mines on all of them. And Imperials aren't the only ones. Rebels can do this too. So that's 2 proximity mines per ISD. That's 4. 1 proximity mine for each Gazanti. For 6 mines. You know what you can do with those mines? Just put them right here. Okay, you want to come get me? Come get me. Here's all my mines. There we go. It's like, how do you approach that? It's such a fortress encouraging objective. And I hate that. I hate it with a passion because it encourages a player to play this way, and it is extremely difficult to punish them for it. It is akin to how stupidly broken Fish Farm was back in the day with the 8 fucking GR75s in the MC80 with Defiance. It is that broken. That's my personal opinion. I think this objective... I mean, I'm still going to play it because if you want to be competitive, you play what's broken. If you don't want to be competitive, don't play what's broken and make other stuff work. But if you want to win at Worlds, you play competitively. Now, some of these other... I mean, it used to not be that way because Worlds used to be an open invite. Just anyone could sign up and go to it. And obviously, if you had one of regionals, you had a spot. But you could if you got a ticket, you could go and you could play. And you could bring something wacky and crazy and just have a good time. You can't do that anymore. Because now Worlds is invite only. It does not encourage wacky fun play at regionals. It does not encourage wacky fun play at continentals and these other places. It's only going to encourage what's competitive, what can I win with. Some players, to their credit, will still bring wacky fun lists and potentially will still win with them. That I don't doubt. Skill will always trump net listing any day of the week. But guys, hyperspace migration is not healthy for future meta of this game. Not healthy at all. Not at all. I don't like where that is going. And it is my hope that they will change this objective. They won't. But it's my hope that they will change this objective to limit how many ships can claim tokens off the Purgle. Make it only 2. Make it so only 2 ships maximum can farm. Because it's not just this, guys. I mean, Rebels with MC. I mean, look. I mean, as I've been saying, it's more crap. It's better for Rebels because all you have to do is get an MC80 with Akbar. Again, they can do the same fucking bullshit, but they can sideways deploy. So they have more room. They can fit more ships. In this Purgle, all it has to do is just travel in the same direction as the MC80 as my vassal's chugging here. Oh, I completely flipped this stupid thing around. Because I'm just so upset about this objective. As you can probably tell. It's like, and I get it. I get it. Well, my vassal is... Well, yeah, I totally did that wrong. Let me take my time and do this correctly. Like that. There we go. So again, there's Akbar's MC80. And you can totally fit 2 flotillas right in there. And it's just, yeah. And then it's just ridiculous. I'm just not excited for it. I think I've ranted enough about hyperspace migration, but yeah, for squadronless, okay, so we've gone over surprise attack, why it's good for squadronless. We've gone over hyperspace migration, while it's good for everybody. I mean, this is like I said, you're gonna see this object. Why would you take Doom Station? You only get 20 points. Period. Why get 20 points when I can get 60? Why? Sure, it's got the gravity rift in there, and cool. It's a cool gimmick. It's not gonna win you games unless you really leverage that objective. This objective, all I have to do is just sit in one place, and I'm earning 60 points around, no problem. Anyway, let me get on to the next reason why Squadronless is gonna be good. And this is the big one. This is I love it. This objective I think is very good, very goodly. I don't know. It's designed well, and this gives second player a huge advantage without it being so disabling. So like with hyperspace migration. So with hyperspace tactics, the second player. Let me bring this up. The second player. Why can't I just blow it up? There we go. The second player places all obstacles, excluding the station. Okay, so you don't get a station. Nope. I mean, let's bring it up. Let's get rid of all this crap. Get out of here. We don't want you anymore. Stupid space whales. I mean, I know those are dust clouds, but you know they're standing in. Dang it. Oh, whoops! I want those. I want these still. I want to pull those off over there. Get rid of all this stuff. Go on. Get out of here. All right. So you toss the station, but as second player, you get to place all the obstacles. Okay, guys, it's a lot of people underestimate this. Why is this important? If you're Imperial, you can put all the obstacles where you want so you can leverage Burnson. If you're I mean, for anyone, putting obstacles anywhere means that you can fortress where you're at if you wanted to. You know, you still have to follow the beyond distance 1 and beyond distance 3 in the setup area still, but you can fortress yourself in here with these objectives like this. Like, anyone want to come get me? Cool, you got to run this gauntlet of obstacles. So the special rule part of this is if the first player overlaps an asteroid field with a ship or a squadron, they can recover a non-scattered defensive token. That token can come back exhausted. If a second player ship overlaps a asteroid field, he suffers no effect from that obstacle, and he gets a token back readied for any squadron or ship. But that's not why this is. I mean, that's good for second player regardless, especially for capital ships trying to beat off fucking squadrons. Why is this so good for squadronless lists? These bastards. These bastards right here, space slugs. Because at the start of the squadron phase, so it won't work on the first round. But at the start of the squadron phase, after exogorphs perform attacks, remove each exogorph obstacle from play. End of round, the second player places the 2 exogorph obstacles, each touching a different obstacle. So, as squadronless, look, I'm going to deploy here. I'm going to put asteroid fields in front of me because they don't hurt me if I run them over, if I want to move. So let's just, we're going to say something like this. Okay. But you can even put the debris field. I mean, like I said, you can kind of fortress yourself in here. Get this all set up to where everything is. Yeah, something like that. And I'm going to use the exogorphs are similar in size to this rock, so I'm going to do 2. Now remember, with the exogorphs, when they make their attacks, they're treated as ships. They're rolling 3 blue die. they attack every squadron at distance 1 of them. And you can place them overlapping squadrons. So, okay, you want squadrons to come in and shoot my ships? Come run this gauntlet of exogorphs where you can have it touching an obstacle like this. So wherever they move their squadrons, guess what? You can throw down an exogorph. It can attack anywhere in front of your ships. You can throw down another one. Again, it can attack anywhere in front of the ships. And they attack every single squadron at distance 1 with 3 blue die. Not only that, if they're unactivated squadrons, if they take any damage, they can still brace or scatter it. But if they take any damage, it activates them. So this wrecks rogues. Also, any squadrons that want to come in to attack my squadronless ships, they're gonna get smacked and eaten by these exogorphs, and also flaked by my Star Destroyers. So double black flak combined with 3 blue die, that's gonna eat squadrons pretty freaking quickly, and especially low health scatter aces will die fast because they only have 3-4 health. Like, cool, you double scattered, a 3 attack and a 2 attack. Sure, maybe you braced, but like, they're losing health fast. And also these Simoons, I have quad laser turrets on them, so as long as I'm rolling 50-50 for a hit, as long as I'm getting hits back at them, it's almost as good as like having an SSD. Or even if you even just have an SSD, you can, okay, come bomb my SSD fighters, I don't care. I'm gonna be overlapping this asteroid field and recovering all of my defensive tokens, no matter what you do. Okay, so you can see why this objective's so good for squadronless. Like, if you're going squadronless, there is, in my opinion, there's no reason to not take this objective compared to some of the other yellow ones. I haven't looked at comments in a while. Let's take a look. Yeah, I don't know. I hate fortress lists. Fortressing might be a mixed blessing. I don't like them. It just encourages such boring play styles. And I know that I'm talking about like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do and blah blah blah. The thing is that I'm such a gung ho, like, I'm not gonna use this to fortress and protect myself. I'm gonna see and evaluate how I can place these obstacles to where I can be aggressive and go out and get my enemy. But these just allow me to do that and not worry about that I'm going to immediately explode to fighter squadrons, because these are essentially my extra flackers. Because you can place them at the start of the squadron phase, or rather they're placed at the end of round. So you still have to try to anticipate like where your ships are going and where these things are going. But like, if you're smart, you'll understand how to leverage this objective. It's just really good. So those are the main 3 that for squadronless lists where I think you're going to see a lot, especially like that's going to make double Vader Simoons, like, I think, really powerful. And I think that you'll see a lot more of those in the future. Because double Vader Simoons were already strong, but they were kept in check by heavy squads. So, again, surprise attack, I'm going to kill your flagship if you're heavy squads. If you are heavy squads and you choose asteroid tactics, I'm going to have space slugs eating your squadrons nonstop. And if you're heavy squads, well, then I'm going to choose. You can then choose migration, and I'm going to farm 60 points consistently until you come get me. Like, it makes running squadronless better now. Not perfect. I definitely think heavy squads are still broken in their own way, but at least squadronless ships have better objectives they can leverage now to their advantage. There's likely to be an anywhere but near me coming. Do the Rebellion in the Rim objectives favor interdictor lists with graph shift? I mean, I don't think there's any objective where interdictor graph shift is not useful. But the new objectives, absolutely. absolutely the new objectives are encouraging more interdictor play, which is great. I love interdictors. They're, they don't put out a lot of damage, but they are so tanky. And now with HIEs readily available, they can hit back. I've definitely have seen. I mean, the double interdictor list at Gen Con that placed uh, that placed highly. I mean, he was doing kind of what I'm talking about. He would sit back at his objectives. It's like, okay, come get me. I'm you're first player. I'm second player. If you do nothing, I get 6 points. I still win. Is that how you win a tournament? Worked for him. So I can definitely see, especially with gravity rifts, the interdictors wanting to have more play with that. Yeah, as Paul said, by the virtue of the fact that they have more obstacles, absolutely. Like the more that you can leverage grav shift with more obstacles, yes, yeah. Let's get back to some of the red obstacles. I didn't cover Ion Storm and Rift Assault. So Ion Storm, again, kind of same deal as Marked for Destruction. Again, it still has the advantage of the second player is placing all the obstacles, excluding the station, but it limits him a little bit because it's only beyond distance 5 of both players' edges. Not a big deal. Special rule, when a ship that does not have an objective token ends its movement beyond distance 2 of any obstacle or beyond distance 1 if that ship belongs to the first player, you assign objective tokens to that ship. When a ship resolves a repair command, it may discard its objective token. Each ship has the following critical effect, which, I mean, I'm loving these objectives that are adding additional critical effects. I think that's a cool idea because it allows them to bypass contain unless they have DCO, because it's a modified critical effect. If the defender has an objective token, the attacking ship owner gains 1 victory token, then choose and discard 1 command token from the defender. If the defender does not have any command tokens, the defending hull zone loses 1 shield instead. So, I mean, Ion Storm. I mean, this is way better than Marked for Destruction because at least you can apply these tokens to any of the player ships, not just freaking one. And it takes a repair command to get rid of that token, so it still allows for some counterplay. Because essentially comms, the repair flotillas, commsnet over repair tokens, but then it's forcing that player to commsnet over repair tokens and not navigate tokens and squadron tokens. And then if you shoot them and you can resolve a critical, you farm 15 points and you make them discard tokens. And if they don't have tokens, they take an extra shield damage. Like that combined. Oh no, you can't. You can only choose 1 critical unless you have fire control team. But it's pretty much that one upgrade card. The what's its bucket? What's the card that I can't think of right now? It's not MS, not NK. Ion cannon batteries. It's ion cannon batteries, the objective, and you don't need blue crits for it. So I think Ion Storm will see play. I think that definitely players can leverage that because what is going to want tokens? Interdictors. So you make them spend their repair tokens on getting rid of these stupid objective tokens off them. Because if they don't, then you shoot them. If you roll a critical, you make them discard their repair token, so now they can't, and you get 15 points, or they lose shield. I mean, it's Ion Storm is I think is interesting. Is it as good as the big 3? I think you'll see it on the table more than Marked for Destruction ever. Rift Assault. Rift Assault. Place obstacles as normal. No, that's right. This is what I want to do. Yeah, Rift Assault. Click that. Click that. There we go. Place obstacles as normal, adding the gravity rift, excluding the station. While a ship is attacking a ship, if the defender is beyond distance 1 of any obstacles, if the defender does not have an objective token, the attacker can spend 1 die with any icon. Ugh, this one is just way too much reading. It's so much reading. Pretty much, when you go to resolve attack effects, the defender can discard the objective tokens to change the die facings. If he's first player, either a single hit or an accuracy. If it's second player, he can change it to any icon. The attacker gains a victory token when he does so. which is 10 points. Also, the Gravity Rift has an extra special thing of any ship that's at speed 1 or slower is suffering a face down card every single time. So Rift Assault, great for Sato second player. Like Sato will likely want to take Rift Assault because now he is guaranteeing critical effects, which is great. So that's good. I think that's definitely good with Sato. I mean, other ships can definitely still leverage this ability, like Decap, like Vix, Victory 2s, or Raiders that are wanting to try to get HIEs off, and they have a harder time guaranteeing that die roll to get those criticals. I still don't think Rift Assault is again as good as the other objectives that I've talked about, the big three, but it has uses. It's again still more useful than Marked for Destruction. uh, Intergetter and G8 and a Rift, how do they interact? Yeah, you can double them up. So yeah, you can do 1 and 1. So yeah, if anyone is going speed 3, now they're going speed 1. If they're speed 2, you can make it so they don't go anywhere. But yeah, you gotta be. I mean, G8s. What is the distance on G8s? I think it's 1. Yeah, it's 1 to 5, right? My brain is saying it's 1 to 5. That's what I'm gonna go with. Yeah, 1 to 5. So the Rift is distance 1 to 2. So you can still be a little ways away from the Rift and still kind of pegging people. And then if you really wanted to really do shenanigans, bring Constantine and Pylons. That's just so speed. I mean, messing with opponents' speed dials and things like that, like it all sounds like it's gonna work out, and then it never works out. But at least the gravity rifts with Constantine and interdictors and this kind of stuff. I mean, you can at least you can have more jank. So instead of it just being just jank, it's more jank now. You're taking that jank dial. It had already reached the top, and you just pushed it forward more, and you busted through like to the next level of jank with it. Next level jank. For the other yellows, the only two I haven't covered is Fleet and Bean and Abandoned Mining Facility. I think that both those objectives are kind of meh. I think Fleet and Bean is nice. But Abandoned Mining Facility, pretty much, if you spend repair engineering points, you can suck victory tokens out of the dust fields and the station. Is it good? Because if you suck too many points out of the dust fields vanish. There's also no asteroid fields. There are per burglars that do get added in. So again, if you wanted to do like proximity mine shenaniganry, you can. And again, you could, as interdictors, you could pull that station towards you, and then each interdictor spending victory points to farm off the station. Yeah, I would say that for interdictors, maybe that's better than contested outpost. Yeah, I still don't see how that's better than maybe some other objective. It's just more variety. Is it better than contested outpost? Well, contested outpost, it doesn't heal. So abandoned mining facility actually is probably better than contested outpost because at least the station can still heal. You can still use it to support your squadrons and your ships. Again, if you have interdictor, you can pull it closer towards you and farm all the stuff off it. Now the station is placed in the center of the setup area. So if you look on Vassal here, let's get all this stuff cleared off here. So the station, where did I put the station? Did I accidentally delete the station? I think I deleted the station. Well, let me pull it back out. Station token. Here we go. Obstacles. Station. Perfect. So the station would go in the middle of the setup area. If you do have grav shift reroute, you can move it 1 to 2. So yeah, I mean it's a little bit closer than something like contested. I mean contested outpost starts there. Yeah, I mean that's not awful. And then your interdictors here, and all they can do, then they could just move up and be closer to it, and each of them can farm points off of it. And then if you have the dust fields set up on the sides of it, again pull those closer, and you can be farming the dust fields as you move up towards the station. So yeah, actually, I think if you've got an interdictor, bring abandoned mining facility over contested outpost. Rift ambush is still lulzy for fun. um, what's the other one that I covered that was the new yellow one? Oh yeah, the asteroid tactics. So yeah, abandoned mining facility. I think you can leverage pretty well. Fleet and beam. After deploying fleets, the first player assigns each of the ships one objective token. Then the second player assigns each of their ships a number of objective tokens equal to that ship's command value. So that favors second player with larger command value ships. When a ship with an objective token is declared as a target of the attack, it may discard one objective token to ready one of its exhausted defense tokens. That's neato. If a ship is at distance 1 to 5 of one of the 3-foot short edge play area, or at distance 1 to 3 of a player edge, the 6-foot one, remove one objective token from that ship. Each player gains one victory token for each enemy ship in the play area that does not have an objective token at the end of the game. Yeah, I don't know. So 15 points per ship, but you're going to be killing ships anyway. So you're not going to get the victory tokens for any ships that you kill, only for any ships that are left in the. This objective seems super counterintuitive. Why would I not kill ships? Why would I not kill a GR75 that is worth 18 points just to farm 15 points? And then, if it is a GR75, it's going to spend its objective token to unexhaust its scatter so it can scatter 3 times? Woof. Yeah, I don't think that's a very good objective at all. I mean, you can make the argument that sure it survived, and sure you get 15 points, but what is the average activation count? It's 5. The average activation count for competitive lists right now is about 5 for ships. So if you don't kill any ships, but I'm not good at math. What's 15 times 5? 75 points. So intel sweep. Okay, so they bring 6 ships, 90 point. Okay, so if you allow 6 ships to live, you get 90 points for it. I would still much rather just table my opponent and get 400 points. This objective seems like I can see where they're going with it for second player advantage, because the second player is able to refresh defensive tokens, which if you are bringing something like victories or even Star Destroyers with like expert shield techs, which allow you to reduce a damage by 1, makes them better against squadrons. And you can then refresh your redirect, so you can keep exhausting and blocking squadron attacks for 2 times, 3 times, 3 times if it's Star Destroyer before all the tokens are gone. Any small ship, it's only once. Yeah, I still am not seeing it, guys. I'm still not seeing where this is going to be that much better than anything else. I can see that it has uses, and you can make an argument that it's for second player if you really need your defensive token back, like with an SSD, or if you're running expert shield techs on command 3 ships, is where again where command 2, command 3 ships we get the best leverage. Command 1 ships as second player, you don't want to take this objective. I don't think you're going to get that much use out of it. Because then if your ships as Command 1 ships survive, but their things are off, now you're giving your opponent victory points because your ships didn't explode. I don't like it. I don't like that objective. I think we've discussed enough reason why. Let's see here. The entire point of Fleet and Bean is force the fight. If you're a brawler, the enemy is having to come to you and you don't have to chase. Interdictor can suck big time on that objective. I need an interdictor size Mega Made. 40 points of dust with command and token. Interdictor, so basically the enemy runs away. Lifeboats, you get points for it, so it's counter life points. That's the point of Fleet and Bean. We have to chat up to get your. We need to have the chat up to get your attention. Yeah, but I like talking too much. I'll try to remember to keep it open. See if anyone is. Okay. So that's the yellows. Let me pull the chat window up here. There we go. Is that better? I'll try to remember to pull it up. What about the other blue ones? Oh, infested fields and volatile deposits. I mean, we'll go over them, I guess. So infested fields is placing the exogorphs. When a ship or squadron overlaps an obstacle, that ship or squadron owner may remove an objective token on that obstacle to gain 1 victory token. Exogorphs do exogorph things. The second player can move the obstacle each exogorph was touching. Each exogorph obstacle not in the play area, the second player chooses an obstacle and places 1 exogorph touching that obstacle. So it's like dangerous territory, but there's space slugs popping out of it and wanting to eat things. Yeah, it's pretty much dangerous territory, but there's space slugs. Except it's not like dangerous territory because you as second player, when you overlap the obstacle, you're gonna get hit with the obstacle damage. And there's no station. And squadrons can claim them. Oh, that's the point I'm missing. So it's dangerous territory, but squadrons can claim the tokens. Okay. And then as second player, not only can you have your squadrons, you send out a sacrificial squadron to claim the token. If anyone else then wants to come kill that squadron, then you place the Exogorph down, who then eats the squadrons that attack that squadron. All right, I can get behind that. I can see where you can do some clever play with this, and then you can move those obstacles to get in front of people after you've claimed them, or move them out of the way of your ships. You don't get a crazy amount of points for it, like with, hyperspace migration. But if you've got squadron heavy, I could, again, you can eat first player squadrons faster. Huh. Interesting. That's an interesting one. So it's not as heavy objective point farming like with hyperspace migration, but it can encourage second player heavy squad or even medium squad wing. If you're bringing a medium or light squad, this can potentially help speed bump heavy squad a little bit more. Like I said, it punishes rogue squadrons. It punishes rogue squadrons really badly, which oh man, this is only encouraging, I think, 2-ship to kind of swing back in, because what does 2-ship hate? It hates rogue squadrons. So it will absolutely murder rogue squadrons, because you can place it near where the rogue squadrons are going to be. It forces that player. Yeah, interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, and there's chat delay. Yeah, but it's not so bad. Huh. I'm gonna have to think about that more. I definitely think that you want squadrons to leverage this objective. Now, whether if you want to try to leverage this objective with heavy squads, medium squads, or light squad builds, that remains to be determined. If that will stop the steamrolling of your ships by heavy squads. I mean, if it works for asteroid tactics, I don't see why it wouldn't work for infested fields. Not for squadron for. I mean, you could still do squadronless, but I mean, I still don't recommend running these things over with your own ships. You want squads. You want some form of squads. I guess you could also leverage that new Imperial squadron dude. What's his bucket? Morlo of all. Did I say his name? Morello. Marlboro. I just like call him Marlboro Lights because when objective token is moved, so you can, if you don't want to claim the token, you can always fly a lambda up, pull the token off the obstacle. Because if you pull the token off the obstacle, it can't be claimed because the obstacle token is no longer on that obstacle. So you could pull an objective token off of one obstacle and throw it on a different obstacle and then move 2 squadrons onto that obstacle to then claim both of those tokens. Which that is interesting to think about with Marlboro Light. Interesting. Just interesting to think about like the different combinations you can do with squadron play with that with lambdas or VCXs, and again not only that with lambdas and Marlboro, because now you can place those obstacles out where you can leverage those objective tokens by having the lambdas fly up, pull them off, activating Marlboro, and then you can go shoot and do his play with that. You don't want to hinge your whole strategy around him. You know, you don't want something dumb like 3 or 4 lambdas because that's just, you're sacrificing too many squadron points to try to have one guy do all the work for you, and he's just going to die, and then you're stuck with 4 lambdas that throw double black, and then you're sad. More a low eval. Oh, because he's eval. Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I think that in certain builds, list builds, you'll see that card. Volatile deposits, I'm not a fan. Place obstacles is normal, adding 2 dust fields exclude the station. While a ship is attacking a ship, the attacker can choose 1 obstacle at distance 1 of the defender, then resolve the following critical effect. If you get a blue critical, each ship or squadron at distance 1 of the chosen obstacle suffers damage equal to half the total number of the crit icons in your attack pool rounded up. If the defender is one of the first player ships, the attacker can resolve this effect with any crit icon. End of round, for each asteroid field, each player sums the command values of their ships at distance 1. Then for each asteroid field, the player with the highest total gains 1 victory token. So you're really not bringing this objective to leverage getting victory points. You're bringing this objective because you want to blow up obstacles near enemy ships and enemy squadrons. And if you're first player, you can only deal as much damage as half the total crit icons in your attack pool. And that's for any ship or squadron can do this. No, only ships. Only when a ship is attacking the ship. Okay. But if it's the second player attacking, any crit icons work. As long as he still rolls a blue critical. Okay, so you still have to roll the blue critical to be able to trigger it. But any crit icons in the rest of your attack pool can then still be used. If the defender is one of the first player ships, the attacker can resolve this effect with any crit icon. Each ship or squadron, I think I'm reading this incorrectly. Each ship or squadron at distance 1 of their challenge suffers attack pool, which is still all the crit icons. Oh, so it's saying that first player can only resolve the special rule for blue critical. Second player can resolve this effect with any critical icon. Yeah. Yeah, I can see now the resolve part. Yep. And it's still only half the critical icons deal damage. Okay. I think I got that correct now. There we go. Exploding obstacles. How is that not awesome fun? I mean, it's a gimmick. It's a neat gimmick. I don't think it's going to see a whole lot of play. Again, you can still make the argument of for light squadron, medium squadron builds, trying to encourage your opponent to come attack you, but I can just also still see this backfiring. I can just still see this backfiring on you as second player. And that's, again, if you're bringing objectives, you want them to work in your favor. You don't want them to be used against you. It works. I mean, I'm definitely sure you can find a way to make it work. It's just more difficult and it has the potential to backfire on you. So there's that. Is it awful? No, I don't think it's awful. I just think out of all the blues, it's not as useful. Yeah, Paul, that's I reached that conclusion. I think you're caught up and you heard that. Yeah. So that's the objectives. I think I've kind of covered. And again, I mean, you still have all the other varieties of objectives to choose from, and I think a lot of people are going to replace. It's not that the old objectives are completely replaced with the Rebellion the Rim objectives, but man, the Rebellion the Rim objectives, it's just you're much more encouraged to take them. Let's talk about list building. I have been talking for a little over an hour. I feel like I can talk a bit more. Maybe take some sip of liquid. So I've done enough talking, I think, about objectives. Let's talk about the list building part. It's true, you got interdictors. I know you love running interdictors, Paul. Let's talk about list building. I'll be honest. List building for rebels for me is more difficult because I'm not really a rebel player. I'll try to give some insights and talk about rebel things, especially the kind of some interesting aspects I've hit upon. I'm largely going to cover Empire because I'm an Empire player. Let's talk about. I already went over the Vader double Simoon list that I want to bring and try at some point on Vassal is probably where I'll get a chance to play that with the new objectives. So, what makes a good competitive list? And this sounds like it's simple, and that why even say it? You need to have a plan, and you need to have an idea of how you're going to execute that plan. You just can't throw a bunch of net list things together and then expect that to work for you as well as it does somebody who made that list to begin with. So let's start with the SSD because I think the SSD is kind of a good launching point. So if the SSD, when it is likely the only major combat ship that you're going to be fielding in your list, you could make arguments for running the command variant with like Demolisher, or the command variant and have squadrons. But the biggest problem that the SSD has is against ECM. How do you kill large ships? How do you get yourself in a position? Because if the large just stays in one of your arcs and stays there all game, you're never going to force him to spend or discard his brace off, and he can just sit there and brace your big attacks all game long. Some people use the tried and true XI7s for SSD. XI7s are still good. They're not awful. They're not bad. They're still very, very useful because if they spend a redirect, they can only move one damage total period to a different hull zone. The issue with XI7s is that they're still bracing your attack. So the die that you're throwing is still only half. So if you're only throwing, what is the assault throw out the front? 1, 2, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if you're only throwing 9 die from the front, he's gonna always brace it. You know, if you only ever just get single hits, he braces from 9 to 5. Still a pretty powerful hit. You're not always going to get 9 damage every single attack, though. You're going to still end up with accuracies. You're going to end up with red blanks. And if you have to lead in shots, you're losing 1 additional die. So now you went from 9 to 8. So if you only roll 8 damage, well, now he's still only bracing to 4. He redirects to a whole zone. He can easily repair that. An MC-80 can easily repair that every round. A Star Destroyer can easily repair that every round. How are you forcing decisions to be made to kill things if they're stuck just in your front arc? And as the SSD, you can't double arc them. You have to force choices. This is why you're seeing things like in the builds that I have, but also other people's builds, you're seeing Palpatine, because if they want to attack you, they have to spend tokens, which is good, because if you already have attacked them, they've spent tokens. If they haven't attacked you, they spend tokens. When you attack them back, now you accuracy other things, and you're forcing them to potentially discard, tokens. Palpatine is good on SSD. Again, he's forcing counterplay choices. Not only that, you probably are going to see potentially things like Overload Pulse come back on the SSD. Do I think this is the end-all be-all card for the SSD? No, but it's nice to have, because if they don't have Damage Control Officer when you trigger this card, it doesn't matter if you're first or second player of the SSD, because as soon as you smack everything, it exhausts all their tokens. If it's first player, it's stronger on a first player SSD than a second player SSD, but it's still super helpful, because if you exhaust other ships that haven't gone, when they go to shoot at you, again with Palpatine, they're being forced to discard tokens. And again, where can you further encourage play to get things like this through? I definitely feel like you're going to see things, as I mentioned before, like heavy turbo laser turrets coming back, where, okay, you contained my Overload Pulse, but now you didn't brace my damage from 9 to 5, you braced it from 9 to 8, and I'm still pumping damage into your ship. And if you did contain that, then you're also going to redirect, but it's still 8 damage to a zone. So I just wiped out shields in one side and then wiped out shields in the arc I'm still shooting at. You're putting damage in. You're forcing choices. So don't just slap on a bunch of upgrade cards without any thought, just because you previously are inclined to think it's good and that nothing else is better. You need to encourage your opponent to make tough decisions. Whether that's with doing H9, another variant is quad turbo laser cannons with H9, because that way you get the double accuracies. Where is it at? Quad turbo lasers. There we go. Because it adds another accuracy to your pool. So the thought there isn't to just to force my player to make tough decisions. It's, I'm going to just accuracy everything you have. I don't care if you have ECM. Unlock your brace. You still can't redirect. You still can't contain. I'm still pumping damage into your hull zone. This is why I prefer combinations like this over XI7. Because I still don't think XI7 is encouraging counterplay, and it's still not giving you everything you need to try to pump damage into the hull zone you're trying to kill. There still is an argument to be made with XI7s with like H9. You can still try to accomplish all the accuracy locking and make it so they still can't shift damage away. But really with the SSD, it's all about, once you strip all their shields off, it doesn't matter if they're stuck in your one arc pounding you back, even with a double arc, because you've got all those defensive tokens. If you're spamming engineer repair with an SSD, you don't need to just spend 2 points to put 2 shields on. Your back isn't getting shot. Move your rear shields. Move 4 shields from the rear to the front. So now you're moving 4. You're not just regaining 2. So again, strategy. You need to have a plan with how you're going to take down large ships as an SSD. Now, how do you take down an SSD? Again, you have to force tough decisions on that SSD. He doesn't have ECM. So if you can generate accuracies like Crymoons with H9, again, H9 quad battery turrets, you double lock their braces, it doesn't matter that you don't have XI7s, because if they redirect, you're still pounding so much damage into their front that you're wiping out their shields. Again, same thing with the SSD. Once all those shields are gone, it goes down fast, guys. And again, the SSD can only shoot your Star Destroyers once, and he's not getting a double arc. You just brace and then you repair and you're fine, and you're smashing the crap out of the SSD as long as you can lock those braces down. Again, H9 quad turbo laser batteries accomplish this. Heavy turbo laser turrets, I think are gonna swing back because of the SSD again, because if he wants to use his damage control officer to stop any critical effects, he's gotta brace it. So something like what do the rebels have? Because I know some rebel players that I've been talking to are kind of struggling right now with trying to beat something like that. Well, an MC-75 can bring an ordnance slot, something like assault concussion missiles, which wrecks super star destroyers, but you can still bring HTT, and you're still forcing decisions. Now, this version here, there's no black out the sides. But if you bring, you're going to laugh at me, but if you bring Sato, you can change out die to roll these blacks. What about, yeah, the other version doesn't get a turbo laser slot. But that's something, that can still work. Same thing with MC-80s. MC-80s are so tanky that, again, with HTT, HTT with HIE are still gonna wreck Star Destroyers, Super Star Destroyers, because MC-80s can they just could take a punch and they don't care. Like SSDs struggle with MC-80s. Everything struggles with MC-80s. They're such pickles that are so hard to crack. It's like, okay, you can DCO contain my heavy ion emplacements, but now you can't brace again all that damage I'm chucking at you. And so even if you redirect it, I'm still wiping all of your shields off with these attacks. And if you choose to still just brace, well, guess what? Heavy ion placements still go off. I'm still stripping shields off you for whenever you decide you do want to try to redirect, and you're still pumping damage in. What about MSU? I don't really have any suggestions for MSU. Let me look at the chat real quick, make sure I'm not seeing any. Yeah, Mon Carin is still going to be extremely good. Yes, Paul said heavy turbo lasers and hefty critical effect. Oh, M. Douglas King, yeah, assault prototype with HTT Palpatine Overload Pulse. I ran that. I've run that a couple times on Vassal, and I've just straight murdered people with it. You still struggle against heavy squads. You got to be very careful playing heavy squads of an SSD. Like it will still go down. Mon Carin is still going to be good. I'm going to pull more of the trash heap. HT NK7 ion cannons. Yeah, the NK7s, those are the ones where they discard the token, right? It's 10 points though. That is my biggest complaint. You are spending 10 points to discard one of my tokens that I can still exhaust and use, and then it gets discarded. Why not bring Intelligence Officer? I guess you could argue maybe you need the officer seat for something else. But, like, I'm still using the token before I discard it. So I'm still getting a use out of it. For 10 points, that's just rough. That's a rough sell for me. It's not limited to a single attack, so an SSD being double arced is still losing a third of its tokens. That's true. It can trigger off multiple attacks if you've got the double arcs going on. Helps you through DCO, helps you through CM, helps you through multiple redundant tokens, but doesn't totally restrict you to a single liberty. I'm kind of proud I advocated HTTs early. HTT Palp over Pulse Heavy Palp Popper is great for first player SSD, not so good a second. That's correct, Paul. I still think Overload Pulse and HTT, even on Star Destroyer 2s, is still going to be useful because you could still have Palpatine on that ISD2. And I think that is I want to try a list with Palpatine Officer, Overload Pulse, and HTT. M. Douglas Sloan plus Ty spend a lot of tokens. Yeah, but Ties are going to get countered. They're going to get flacked. Like, Ties die to flack. Ties don't like being flacked. Tag HTTs or NK7. I love the fresh thing we see is not. I love that fresh thing that we see is not good. I don't know what fresh thing you're trying to refer to. That fresh thing that we see is not good. It's a point more than HIE. Twice a turn. ISD2 Palp NK7. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you guys are kind of picking up on the list building, and I think that I'm giving. I think I'm giving enough ideas for counterplay against, because we have to keep in mind it's not just the SSD that you have to fight murder, guys. We have two new large ships coming out as well. We've got the Starhawk and the Onager. Large ships are not going away. There's more of them. There's more large ships now with the two new expansions coming out. I think there's more large ships than small ships now. Or just about close enough. So I'm disappointed that MSU is kind of gone, guys. Like, MSU has kicked the bucket. I don't think it's ever coming back because nothing that's releasing thus far with SSD or Rebelling the Rim, nothing is curbing heavy squads. Nothing in there is curbing large ships. MSU is still struggling. MSU struggles pretty hard against the SSD because even if the MSU gets into like the back rear arcs, which takes a while to get to, like they still have a hard time taking on that Super Star Destroyer because it's just going to spam repair and put all the shields back there. It can still toss out a reasonable amount of die to eventually kill small ships unless it's an MC30. Yeah, MSU is just kind of toast right now. Will MSU come back at all around with the Starhawk and the Onager? I don't think so because the Starhawk, I mean, if you looked at its die pools, it's meant to take on an SSD. The Onager looks like a glass cannon to me. I think that will die to MSU if you wanted to bring MSU against that. But like, I'm just not seeing large ships in SSD going anywhere. I'm not seeing heavy squads going anywhere. I don't know what upgrade cards are with the Starhawk and the Onager that potentially going to come out to switch up, not bringing heavy squads. Heavy squads have been prevalent ever since Wave 3. When did the Rogues and Villain pack come out? That was Wave 3, right? I think my memory serves me correctly. I wasn't around then. I wasn't around for Wave 3. More like Wave 2. Yeah, Wave 2 is when heavy squads really started to come more prevalent. But by Wave 3, with the flotillas pushing everything, I mean, pretty much from Wave 3 onward, because Wave 3 and Wave 4 released together. Yeah, that's right. And then from that point forward, squadrons have pretty much always have won worlds or been heavily listed at the top tables. Heavy squads, they've not gone anywhere. Even at Gen Con, where yes, there's definitely a few lists in there that didn't have heavy squads, but I mean, even Dumpster Fire had a medium squad build, and Yavaris. Even the list that plays second, which had heavy squads and Yavaris, the Peltas and all that. It's like Yavaris and Rebel heavy squads have not kicked the bucket. The SSD is going to help with heavy squad curbing a little bit because the SSD with Callus and quad laser turrets, like, let me show you an example. And this is something I don't think a lot of people. Fatalistic never coming back. I mean, you could call it fatalistic. I understand you have faith. I want to have faith, but they just haven't released anything that really encourages MSU play. My counter for SSD MC5. Yeah, Douglas, that's true. I mean, you definitely Radis definitely punches the crap out of the SSD. Radis is still SSD struggles against Radis for sure. Um, we don't need new releases to shift metas. They slap the +1 list of stuff. Yeah, so let me talk about the why I think the SSD, if long as you're building it, my opinion, as long as you're building it correctly. Um, so let's take an example. If you're using the Assault version, well, I guess it doesn't matter if it's the Assault version or the Command version. Well, no, you need the Assault version because you need H9s and quad turbo laser cannons. Why is that? So if a squadron flies up and shoots you, okay, so if you've got the quad laser turrets, you counter back with 1 blue die, right? In this case, you got an accuracy, which normally you'd be like, oh, super sad, no damage. But if it's a unique squadron, which almost everything is a unique squadron, you callus in a red. Why a red? As long as you don't roll a blank, in this case I automatically rolled the accuracy, you can quad laser cannon in another accuracy, spend the blue die with leading shots, re-roll both reds. I got nothing. That happened to me every single game last night too. But I mean, at least you're still re-rolling, even though they're fickle red die. At least you're still re-rolling red die to try to get damage back on target, where otherwise you would have gotten nothing. Now you could have made the argument like why do double red? Why not just do a black where you have a greater chance of at least doing 1 damage? Well, because for me, I'm looking to fish for that double. Um, so if I roll 2 again, like that example, I re-rolled into to double damage and a hit. Um, so if it's a double brace ace, you just did 2 damage back to them instead of just 1. If it's a scatter ace, if you did roll, again, if it's a scatter ace that's unique, again, if you roll the blue, if you have H9s, again, you roll the black to get that 1 damage, turn that into an accuracy. You're gonna, I mean, in 3 rounds, you're gonna kill a scatter ace, unless it's Shara, then it's 4. So, I mean, as squadrons are attacking you, you're killing them back. Now, if you do bring the Annihilator title, I do prefer, again, still going for that double red, because you could still re-roll that red. So you do the blue, callus in that red, H9 it to that accuracy to get the other accuracy, and then spend leading shots, re-roll, and then Annihilator. Well, still nothing. Like I said, you can roll the dream damage, but that's kind of like where I like having all that ton of die though, is because generate it can generate more damage. It's a risk. It's still risk versus reward. Or even if it is a scatter race, again, you just do the counter and you do uh, calcin another die. So I mean, you're always going to be typically guaranteeing 1 damage back at anything shooting back at you. But if it's a yeah, it's just interesting things to think about, especially if you have the Annihilator title. Yeah, when you're fighting against scatter aces, you want to do either blue or a black. You don't want to do reds. Um, LTT, I mean, you could put LTT on a Star Destroyer, but it won't. Can you use LTT on counterattack? I don't think so. Let me look at the builder. I already had it open. Well, do something else. While attacking the first squadron during your activation, you may add 2 die of any color to your attack pool. Oh, that's right. So yeah, when you are countering, you are doing a Presido activation. So you could add LTT to every counterattack. Why is the reason for that? It's because of Screed. Because Screed, where's the FAQ? So I'm not just talking out my butt. Where's my FAQ? So why does LTT work on counterattacks? Because of that Screed in the Flechette torpedoes. Where's Screed at? I guess I could just do a search on the search thing for him, but I know he's not too far down here. Here he is. This card's effect can resolve during any ship or squadron's activation. So any squadron's activation is any squadron that's attacking one of your ships. So that's where that comes into play. That's why I would say LTT does work on counterattacks. No, different. You're screaming. Your activation, it's the squad's activation, not yours, which is unlike to Screed, which is once per activation. Oh, is that what I missed in the reading? Oh, yep, during your activation. Yep. So yeah, that is specifically when that ship is activating, not during counter. Yep, you're right. Thanks, Dreas. Dreas Knight is always here to correct me when I'm getting shit wrong. Which is like all the time. I get a lot of stuff right, but I also get a lot of stuff wrong. And good thing Dreas and Ian Cross are here to set me straight. But yeah, SSD I think is going to really still curtail heavy squadrons. But like with anything with the SSD, you live and die by your die rolls. So if you roll poorly and you don't damage the squads, that's an extra round you have to spend to try to push them off, and they can still potentially kill your superstar destroyer. The thing is that again, it still kind of eats through B-wings. So B-wings are great with the Uvaris, and if they're just double brace aces, you just want to clap back with as much damage as you can on the counter, and you also just flak them. And again, you've got Callus to kind of help guarantee that damage is getting in. Again, if they're ace B-wings, they're spending their defense tokens to attack you, making them more susceptible for when you do flak them. They're spending and discarding defense tokens. And again, if you're spamming repair on an SSD, you should be able to weather that long enough to either chase them away or to kill those squadrons. Yeah, I think the SSD is definitely going to be one of those things that heavy squadrons are not going to want to go up against. But they still could kill an SSD if the SSD is not able to counter back with damage. Let's see here, been going for about an hour and a half now. What's some other list building things to go over? It makes a good list building list. I know I've touched. That's the thing about list building, is that there's just so much to cover, and it's not just always bring a Star Destroyer. It's not always bring an MC-80. It's not always bring SSD. It's not always bring heavy squads. But if you want to be competitive, you have to understand why those things are so good and why they interlink, and they're able to deal the amount of damage that they deal. And again, I've kind of covered that with my last video of the SSD. I've touched on it again here with the SSD again. Let's talk about, again, for Imperial ships, what are some cards that are going to help some Imperial ships out to try to help diversify the meta and also make ships better against heavy squads? So I am so happy to see, as an officer, Expert Shield Tech. You're going to see these guys stapled to everything with double redirect tokens. Because while defending during the spend defense token step, when you spend a redirect defense token, you may reduce the total damage from the attack by 1 instead of resolving that token's effect. So instead of moving 1 damage to one of your side shields where you're still going to take 1 damage, you just cancel 1 damage, which most squadrons, not all, but most, typically are only throwing the 1 damage die. So Expert Shield Techs are great on things like Archidans because of the double redirects, which helps Archidans weather fighter flak easier to where they can get in and keep shooting, and they're not dying instantly to fighters. Like they're slightly tough for fighters to take out. Not impossible. Like 3 Yavaris B-Wings will still eat this thing alive, but expert shield techs help. Where do also they help? On victories. The biggest thing that why victories nobody would bring victories is just squadrons just ate these guys alive. They just couldn't stay alive. I mean, lots of things eat them alive, but squadrons loved seeing victories because squadrons will just go smack them in the side hull zone and just blow them up super fast. Expert shield techs gives them survivability now. So if they are rolling 2 damage die and they throw those out, you brace it to 1 damage. If it's just a 1 damage die attacker, you shield tech it and you take no damage, and you're keeping your shields there longer to absorb more attacks. I think that this card, and also real quick, the weapons battery attacks are really going to help victories come back into play, because weapon battery attacks is you can change 1 die with an accuracy icon to a face of a critical icon. So you're going to see these. I've already used a Vic 2 as a kind of like a gunboat because I bring HIEs. So yes, you don't get any rerolls, but you're always guaranteeing with H9s, you're always guaranteeing you are getting a blue critical without having to spend a die. And hey, if you naturally already rolled 1 blue critical, you can guarantee that critical gets through an evade by changing, again, H9 to an accuracy into a critical. You're guaranteeing that heavy ion placement is getting in through evade. And this isn't just for Imperials. Weapons battery techs you're going to see on Sato a lot more too. Let's back up and take a look at why that is for Sato. Because what's the biggest thing that Sato hammerheads face? Their black dies always get canceled by evades at long range, right? Or no, there's no accuracy for them. They still want to bring ordnance experts. I got slightly confused, but it helps. What's the other one that I'm thinking about? Maybe it's the scouts. Is it the scouts I'm thinking of? No, there's a rebel ship that. Ugh, I lost my train of thought. There's a rebel ship that wants to take weapons battery techs. It's good on MC30s. That's what it is. I mean, but everything is freaking good on MC30s. But MC30, oh, it was doing the, here we go. This is what I'm thinking of. The new Vanguard title, which gives you the gunner seat, and then you can do no, that still wasn't it. I mean, it still can be helpful because you get the turbo laser H9. No, that still is not it. Because I'm thinking Salvation, and you can't have Salvation and Vanguard. What am I thinking of? I know it's good on MC30s because they always want hit crit showing. They want crit showing in general. It doesn't work with black die. What's the rebel ship that I'm thinking? There was something that I thought about, and man, I lost my train of thought on it. It's good with Star Cruisers. That's not what I was thinking of, but this example still works. It's good with Liberties, because they want HIEs. They've got the double turbo laser slots. They can take H9s and turn these blue dice, again, into critical so they can force HIE through. That's still not what I was thinking of, though, and I can't remember what it was. That irks me. Well, it's good on stuff. That's my professional opinion. It's good on stuff. To go back to the victories, though, where I'm loving that upgrade card is on the victory ones. Because you can get H9. You can have just like with the MC30s, now these guys can do it too. You know, you can put on, you don't need to, it's probably still better to bring ordnance experts, but if you wanted to guarantee, no, again, because you can't turn black die into criticals. What? I keep getting this messed up. It's still good. It's just a fun combo. It's best of stuff that wants to trigger blue critical die. Raiders. That's what I'm thinking of. Oh man, I went to Rebels, come back to Imperials. It's Raiders that want these things. Decaps, HIEs. There we go. Boom. You've now fixed Raider 2's biggest problems, which was guaranteeing that accuracy or guaranteeing that double blue critical. They don't get H9s, but when you're rolling the 3 blue, if you confire in a fourth, I mean, it's 50-50. If the percentage chance of getting what you want now is even higher without having to have Vader or use veteran gunners. That's what I was trying to get at. I'm sure Dreas is over here like already beating my head about it. Sniper Vix with the new weapons team, Interdictor Knock Shield team made match made in heaven. Yeah, Jeff, this video will go up as soon as I'm done. Yeah, you guys are all like just as confused as I am. Like, where the fuck is he going with this? I'm like, I don't know. He's crazy. It was the Raiders I was trying to think of. So I think you'll see this combination more with Raiders. I mean, still spendy at 65 points. But at least they have a higher chance. Because before, what you had to do was you had to bring veteran gunners with them, which I can't tell you how many times I've still had my veteran gunners still crap out on me. So it's a better chance for Raider 2s to get HIE pumped through. Or if you are wanting to use Overload Pulse still with them, the issue with that is Overload Pulse, again, you want to be first player with it. So you're activating a Raider over something potentially more powerful than something like an ISD or an SSD. So I think HIEs are the better bet. But if it is like a SSD, maybe one of these other upgrades potentially could be better. It's interesting. Just lots more flexibility with these weapon techs. They help make these smaller ships better get their effects through. It's like I keep thinking that there's a Rebel ship, but there isn't one because the Corvettes don't get turbos and ions. It doesn't really help out the Hammerhead Scout Corvette at all. I thought that there's something that I was thinking with the bees that was with the Vanguard title, though. What is with the Vanguard title that these accuracies into crits? Oh, it's red dice fixing. That's where I was trying to get at. It's red dice fixing. So one of the things that the Nebulon Bees struggle with is that they lack rerolls out the front, right? So if you get the weapons battery techs, if you do roll a critical or an accuracy on one of your reds, you can at least turn that into damage now. And you can take LTT with weapons battery techs to where you can re-roll again more die in your attack pool. That's what it is. This is what I was trying to get at. So you can bring it's 67 points, but now you are essentially dice fixing your Nebulon B when it shoots out the front. So that way, because typically Nebulon B, since you're only throwing the 3 red die, like getting accuracies just sucks because 90% of the time an accuracy is not going to help you. You want the 3 damage. It's helpful if you're shooting something that has a single evade, but even then, it's still not helping that much. So that's where that is helpful. That's what I was trying to get at. That's 67 points for dice fixing on a Nebulon. You know, your mileage may vary. That's about 2 hours now. I'm getting a little talked out. Message retracted. Put you in timeout for retracting that message. Let's see here. Yes, it's Raiders for blue. Thanks, Wilhelm. I appreciate you coming by and saying hello. Jonas, Screed, Why spend die effects, screen, sensor teams? Makes no sense. Sensor teams are awful. Don't ever bring sensor teams, guys. Sensor teams are just garbage. Dreas there just saying, hey, we're all good. Yeah, Screed before was needed. Now you don't need Screed to do the HIE Raider 2. But again, then you're still bringing small ships that most other ships can just smack aside. Although, you could do... Again, it's a lot of points. That's the issue with the Raider 2s, is like, you're spending so many points for this. But you could do decap, you could do HIE, get the weapon battery tech. You could do Corvus and Iden. How many points is this thing? Probably way more expensive than I want it to be. 73 points. But hey, that Raider 2 is always going to be where you want it to be, and it's survivable. Man, that thing is expensive, though. That's as much as a victory. How much is the cheapest victory? 73 points. You're spending... You're spending as much for this Raider 2 as bringing a naked Victory 1. Probably still better than a Victory 1 naked, though. Absolutely. I would definitely say it's far more survivable than a naked Victory 1. And it probably will still do stuff. Because, yeah, 4 dice at the front compared to 6. Well, 3 of the blue at medium long range. Yeah, with Corvus and Iden, I definitely feel like she's tankier than a Victory. More maneuverable. You can get it into rear arcs a little bit better. It blows up against squadrons, still kind of fast, but at least it's more survivable. So again, more things to think about. I mean, if you wanted to, you could lifeboat this thing by putting your commander on it and then deploying it to where it enters the battle late, and then it's trying to help contribute, hitting something from the side or the rear. You could use it as a finisher. You just don't ever want to lose it. Anything looks at it and just blows up. Anyway, that's some list building aspects. Like I said, there's a lot. There's so many more things we can cover. Because not only are I think you're gonna see Sato more because of Lutzer Bucket, Melee, because Melee allows friendly ships attacking at distance 1 to spend a die to change a die to a crit icon. So essentially, it's a screed on a rebel squadron. So Salvation loves that. Salvation thinks that she's the best thing since sliced bread. Because you can still get that, and you can still do Vanguard with Ordnance Experts throwing blacks to get hit crits. It's better with Salvation because you do the 3 damage off the 1 black die. But Vanguard will still love it too with Sato, because again, it's got Ordnance Experts now with the gunnery teams put on there. And again, Sato Hammerheads, what was their biggest issue before, even with the rerolls, they could never guarantee the hit crit. Now they can guarantee the hit crit. Not only that, if they do roll a hit crit, now they can guarantee double hit crit and smack things around. Because if you bring her and you bring the torpedoes, you're bringing, let's just say ACM variant with decap, Ordnance Experts. So yeah, that's at least 2 die at long range, Confire in a third. And then with her, yeah, I mean, as long as you don't really get terrible die rolls, you'll always at least guarantee 1 hit crit. If you can get a hit crit, cancel the third, unless you roll all 3 hit crits, duh. But cancel the third if it's just a single hit to turn the other hit into a hit crit. You're always guaranteeing through Brunson or anything else through evade, unless it's Adno Mission, which can evade and, Admo. But at least it's totally discarding a token to accomplish that, and you're stripping it of tokens. Because that was the biggest things that these things had problems with, was they could never get past evades, and they could never strip those evade tokens. Now with her, they can. So Sato really, really loves this combination. I think you'll see uh, potentially more of this in the future. Not only with that, but with MC75s, and I mean, I've even seen it with MC30s. You know, with the scout variants, and the armored cruiser. Because you don't really want the ordnance cruiser, you want the armored with Sato. Is my personal opinion. Uh, but your mileage may vary. Some people prefer other things. Yeah, I mean, there's still an argument made with the ordnance cruiser, so you have more black die in your side arcs. But I like bringing the armored, so you can put leading shots on because you got your blues, so you can keep your blues. You can still leading shots. You get rerolls. I mean, you could switch out your weapons team to just be ordnance experts. But again, it just depends on how you want to build it. There's a couple different ways. Um, but yeah, I've talked for almost 2 hours now. That's a lot. That's enough for most people to kind of chew through. I think I've talked long enough on this kind of stuff. There's always more to talk about. That's one thing I love about Armada, and I'm loving about the new stuff is that there's always more to talk about. And I'm loving the fact that there's more to talk about, and we can actually have conversations like this again, where we can sit down and try to figure out what's going to be the next best thing. So I didn't really go too much into covering what is super competitive. I'll try to do that on my next stream. Is actually go into what is actually competitive. I covered aspects of that for sure, but not to the extent that I had wanted to. But that's just a great thing. It just means you get more content. You get to listen to my talking head more. I'm trying to get other people on to talk, so it's not just me, because I love talking back and forth with people. I'd rather bring in Arcadins. So I appreciate you guys joining me. I'm hungry. I want to eat dinner. It's 8 o'clock for me. It's super late for anyone on the East Coast. I think this is pretty much has run its course. So I will, like always, catch you guys next time. I appreciate you guys joining me.